characters, incidents, names, and situations used in this story are fictitious. The resemblance to any person living or dead is purely coincidental. The following video contains some horror elements and suitable for a mature audience, 16 plus. This channel and video is not for kids. Hello friends, I am Arian, and welcome to our channel, Midnight Horror Stories, where you get to hear true and scary ghost stories. But before starting the story, all the friends who have come to this channel for the first time, please subscribe to the channel, and if you like the story, then definitely introduce yourself in the comment section. Then let's do not take much time and start our story quickly. Today I have brought another such scary incident for you, which is related to old times. You will often know about the antique things discovered by the Department of Archaeology. Those antique things are kept very safe in a museum or any other place so that people can see them and know the story behind them. Now, most of the antique things are revealed about where they have come from, who they belong to, but there are a lot of things that happen. Full information about it is not revealed. I don't know under what circumstances this thing was kept like this at that time. There is no spiritual energy entered inside it or any other energy has been placed around it, and we unknowingly touch that thing or do something strange with it, which we have to bear the brunt of later. So today's story is of a very old and a mysterious crown. There were many secrets associated with that crown, but the biggest thing was that there was a lot about that crown. Very few people had information, because if more people had known about that crown, then it was also a big loss that you will know later. Therefore, those who knew the truth about it told very few people about it. But once some people came to know about her, and she started thinking about stealing that crown, but he had no idea that there could be a mysterious force behind that antique thing. He may be tied to a tantra mantra, or someone may be protecting him. He went after that thing without thinking, and later when he realized his mistake, it was too late, because you do not get to see this news even in the papers. Because in fact, such things are freed by the newspaper people only by calling it an accident. So this story is related to our Rajasthan. This incident took place a long time ago. The newspaper only described this thing as an accident. But later when we slowly tried to try it, the truth that came out was really a goosebumps truth. So first of all, let me give you a little information about the mysterious crown from him. So this crown remained with a powerful king, Maharaj Baldev Rathore, and his descendants for centuries. It was believed that any person who wore this crown would become the owner of immense supernatural and amazing powers. But at the same time, he had a big responsibility. Always be charitable. This crown, all the powers of the BJP should have been used only for charity. Otherwise, the powers of this mysterious crown will annihilate the one who abuses them. King Baldev and his descendants used the powers of this crown only in the works of public welfare, and the powers of this crown also protected their descendants from generation to generation. But with the passage of time, the coming generation of the king did not have that much medication, and they started using the powers of this crown for their own interests. As a result, this crown defeated King Baldev. He annihilated all the men born in the clan of Rathore. In such a situation, the present king who died from the curse of this crown. His mother, Rajmata Vijaya Devi, donated this crown to a temple so that her grandson and his future generation could be saved from the curse of this crown. But this crown was worn by many kings. Therefore, it could not be worn as the Lord's Vigraha, nor was it appropriate to melt it and destroy it, because this crown was an invaluable heritage of King Baldev Rathore and his descendants. In such a situation, the trustees of the temple respectfully described it as an old one, installed in the fortress, so that it is not insulted and no one can misuse it. But as time passed, the desire to get this crown also became stronger among the people, and from time to time there were unsuccessful attempts to steal this crown. This crown was wanted by every person who prefers to take shortcuts rather than hard work to succeed. Meanwhile, Mukul, the son of a trustee of the temple, returns to India after completing his studies abroad, and when he first comes to know the secret of that crown, he sets out in search of that crown. He had obtained permission from his father to see the crown, because his father thought that maybe he just wanted to see that mysterious crown. So he himself gave him permission and got permission from the rest of the trustees, and Mukul, along with his two friends Salman and Amit, set out towards the old fort where that crown was preserved. Mukul's discovery led him to the old fort, which had remained in ruins for centuries. He went inside the fort with his friends, and as he moved forward, he felt a strange feeling. The two friends felt that someone was monitoring them. But there was no one on that fort. This was a big surprise for all of them, because the crown made of such old and pure gold was studded with so many priceless jewels. It was beyond the comprehension of those people to keep him like this without any security. Noting this, Mukul's friend Salman mentioned this and said, "Man, Mukul man, you were saying that if that crown is 200 years old and made of pure gold, then its price will also be in crores." Responding to his point, Mukul said, "Of course, Salman. Is this also something to ask?" Salman was surprised when he heard Mukul's words. He looked at Mukul with a questioning look at him. If the crown is so precious and antique, why is it kept here? In such an old fort, and that too without any security, Amit also agreed with him and asked Mukul. Yes, man, Mukul. He did not understand this. Such a precious crown, and that too like that. Anyone can easily steal it. And then you said that there have been many attempts to steal it before anyway. Yet you have left the crown in this state. Listening to both of them, Mukul replied, "Hey, you guys also don't think so much. What do you guys think? All the trustees of the temple are insane. They don't know how important the security of the crown is," Mukul said, looking sharply at both of them, and he continued. "Actually, there are some mysterious powers associated with that royal crown, that no one can even touch the crown with the wrong intention, let alone steal it. That is why thousands of attempts were made to steal that crown, but no thief could steal that crown. In fact, some of the thieves even died on the spot. Seeing his dead body, it seemed that he had a high-voltage shock of electricity, telling them all the indelible things of the crown in front of them. When Mukul told them about the powers of that crown, once they could not believe their ears. But in a short time, Salman roared. He started laughing loudly and laughed and said, "What nonsense! What nonsense with this crown! Powers, you mean magic, man? Mukul, you have read from abroad. Yet even in today's date, you believe all these things. All these things are just stories and nothing that has no proof." On hearing Salman's talk, Mukul said, "Brother, this crown has been kept in this fort for 2 years and is still present here. What can be a bigger proof than this without any security?" Ahmed also found a foothold in Mukul's point and said yes to him. I nodded yes and said, "Brother, there is power in the matter. Mukul is absolutely right, Salman. And anyway, do you have powers in the crown or not? We are here just to see the hundreds of years old antique crown that is made of 100% pure gold. We just have to see the crown and not steal it. So whether he has powers or not, it doesn't matter to us." "Why, Mukul? Am I right?" Mukul said while supporting Amit. Of course, Brother Salman also agreed with them, and the three of them reached the basement inside the fort where the crown was placed. There was darkness in the basement, and in that darkness the priceless gems and diamonds on the crown were clearly visible, from which it was known that there must be some priceless thing kept at that place. But didn't make sense? In such a situation, the three of them took out their mobile and turned on its flash. Then seeing the scene in front of them, the three of them were blown away. His eyes were torn apart. In front of him was placed on a very beautiful throne with a red velvet pedestal on it, that crown from afar. She was so beautiful and adorable in appearance that the eyes of the three of them were dazzled by seeing her. For a few moments, the three of them just stopped there and stopped there. All three of them were amazed at the beauty of the crown from afar. But the crown had attracted the three of them so much with its mysterious beauty that they could not stop themselves from getting close to her. As he got closer to the crown, Salman moved towards him, extending his hands to lift it. Then Mukul stepped forward and grabbed one of his hands and stopped him. He said, "No, Salman, what are you doing? You can't touch this crown, because if you do that, the supernatural powers of this crown will destroy us all." Trying to convince Salman, Mukul said, but Salman was obsessed with touching that crown. So he ignored Mukul's words and said, "Hey man, Mukul, you also don't have anything like this, man. I said before that this story with powers with crowns is absolutely nonsense. I don't believe in such a story." Salman was adamant on his GD, and he asked Mukul. Refusing to obey, he again moved towards her in an attempt to touch the crown. But this time too, Mukul and Amit stopped him. Stopping him from doing so, Mukul said, "See, Salman, if you take even one step towards that crown, it will not be good." Salman was shocked to see the anger in Mukul's eyes while stopping Salman. He understood that even if he raised his eyes to the crown, it would not be good for him. So he himself handled the situation and placed his hand on Mukul's hand and said, okay, cool, Mukul, cool is okay. I will not touch the crown. Saying this, Salman continued his talk and further said, okay, then let's see the crown. Now let's go back from here. Mukul and Amit also liked Salman's talk, and they returned from there. Salman had returned from there, but the glow of that crown was still in his heart and mind. Or rather, seeing the crown and knowing its value, his intentions were spoiled by greed. He wanted to get that crown at any cost. Attached to him, that crown, I didn't believe the story of power, but he knew very well that if he got that crown, he could earn crores of rupees in a single night. Salman anyway had relations with many people who used to do such work and used to sell antiques, idols, and old things from the country abroad for crores. Salman had thought that he would get that crown in any case and sell it to smugglers at a huge profit. Just thinking of this, he decided to steal that crown. The most important thing was that he was talking about it. He also knew that there was no security guard or any kind of state-of-the-art system in the security of that crown, meaning it is very easy to steal that crown. People are just afraid of touching that crown because of the story of its mysterious powers. Just thinking of this, he enters that fort that night with the aim of stealing that crown, because he felt that the crown was very valuable, but the stories related to the supernatural energy associated with it are nonsense. That's why he didn't bring anyone with him or anyone by telling him where he's going. Officially, it wasn't even worth mentioning. How can anyone tell someone that they are going to steal? Because Salman had already seen that place. So now he did not have much trouble, and he went straight to the cellar where the golden crown was kept, holding his torch. There was no one between Salman and that crown anymore. He held his torch and moved quickly towards the crown, and as he stretched out his hand towards the crown to lift it, he received a sharp electric shock. Salman's hand was badly burnt. He did not understand how all this happened, because there was no electricity conductor anywhere in that fortress around that crown. There was no sign of electricity anywhere. Then how was the current so fast? He was just thinking about it, groaning in pain. Suddenly, he was confronted by a terrifying monster-like creature that had emerged from a corner behind the crown seat. Looking at that horrible creature, it was not clear whether it was a human or an animal or a dreaded spirit. His body was like a human, but his eyes were red and his face was not at all human-like. 2 horns on the forehead, a terrible jaw, and wolf-like sharp teeth. There was hair all over his body as if there was no human bear standing in front of him. Looking at the nails worn by him, it seemed that he would tear Salman's rag today. He was a strange-looking, horrible monster with a towering height like a rhinoceros, seeing which Salman was blown away by seeing in front of him. His whole body dripped with sweat. It was a mess. He wanted to get up and run away, but his whole body was stiff with fear. He couldn't move his body even if he wanted to. At that time, his condition had become such that his whole body was paralyzed. Seeing his condition, Salman understood that his end had come. Now that terrible monster will kill him at any moment. Salman was hit by that electric shock because of the same horrible monster. Salman was terrified to see that horrible-looking creature. On the other hand, that phantom and demon Salman is there. I was very angry to see it. He gave a loud roar while looking at Salman and asked him a very terrible roar. He said, "Who are you? And what have you come to this castle to do?" When he asked this question to Salman, then Salman understood that this phantom must be protecting that crown, and this is what gave him such a strong electric shock in an attempt to stop him from touching that crown. Now Salman did not understand what to do, how to tell him that he has come there longing for the crown that is hidden in this fort is, how to tell him that he's willing to do anything to get that crown. He looked at the horrible phantom Salman and repeated his question once more. "Why don't you tell me who you are and why are you here?" There was a heaviness in the phantom's voice repeating the question, a rage that he understood that, if she did not answer him, he would kill her in the same way. So summoning all the courage in his mind, he said in a very hushed voice, "My name is my name Salman, and I'm here to achieve that crown." It came with intent. "But who are you?" Hearing Salman's words, the phantom roared loudly and started laughing, and looking at Salman laughing, he said, "Do you want to get that crown?" Saying yes, he started laughing once more, and laughing again, he continued, Don't you know what you are doing? The powers of that crown are very dangerous, and whoever tries to get it will have to face the consequences, because giving that crown that power, the priest of Maharaj Baldev Rathora gave me the protection of that crown. It was deployed. I am a Yaksha, and it is my duty to protect that crown. No one can even touch it, let alone achieve that crown while I am there. So obey me and go back from here, or I will not leave you alive. Listening to that Yaksha, Salman understood that if he wanted to get out of there alive, then he would have to obey that Yaksha, because he could not do the foolishness of fighting that Yaksha, even if he wanted to. Therefore, Salman accepted the word of that Yaksha without delay. At that moment, he gathered all the courage of his body and put his foot on his head and left from there. He escaped like a prisoner escapes from prison. While escaping from that fort, he did not even realize that he had left his bike in the fort itself. He was just running desperately, as if his breath would stop as soon as he stopped his legs. They ran about 1 to 1.5 kilometers from that fort. It had come far. His hands and feet were swollen due to running so far at such a high speed. His heartbeat and breathing had become so fast, so much that he was even standing up. His eyes were dazzled and in front of them. It was getting dark, but the longing for that crown was still in his mind. He wanted to get that crown at any cost, because his life could have changed as soon as he got that crown. So he contacted a gang smuggling old idols and antiques the other day and told them about that crown. He also showed him the picture of the crown that he had captured when he went to that fort to see that crown for the first time with Mukul and Amit. As soon as he saw the picture of that crown, the smugglers went crazy. Seeing the picture of that crown, they understood that the crown is worth crores in the international market. In such a situation, the smuggler also wanted to get that crown in every situation, but Salman also told him about the Yaksha, after hearing which all those gangsters started laughing loudly and looking at Salman. The leader of those smugglers said, "Hey boy, are you a madman? How are you talking nonsense, Yaksha? What is this? Do ghosts have a new name or not?" "Yes, yes, yes," saying once again. He started laughing loudly, and his companions along with him also started laughing loudly. And then suddenly the leader of that gang was silent and suddenly put his hand on Salman's shoulder and looked at him with very serious eyes and said in a very stern voice, "We will go there tonight. You heard, and you will show us the way to the fortress and to the dungeon." Hearing this, Salman got nervous and tried to convince him and looked at him and said, But brother, that Yaksha brother, he is not a cheat. I have seen it with my own eyes. I have also spoken to him, and I have escaped from there with great difficulty. He won't let us even touch it, let alone steal it." Hearing Salman's words, all the smugglers once again started laughing loudly, and their leader looked at Salman and said, "Son, just once you lead us to that crown. Then they will see that Yaksha of yours too. Do you understand?" Salman also felt that perhaps seeing so many men together, that Yaksha would not come in front of him. And even if it comes, these people will deal with it. After all, these people are big and latest technology guns near. What harm can that Yaksha do to them? Perhaps Salman did not yet know the powers of that Yaksha. He once escaped from her clutches. So he felt that he would get that crown by eliminating him with those smugglers. Now he was just waiting for the night to fall so that he could go to take that crown with those goons as soon as possible. Finally, the day passed. Salman reached that fort with those smugglers, but due to the fear of that Yaksha, he did not dare to move forward, so he put those people in the basement. He showed me the way, but didn't go in. His bike was still parked, so he went and sat on his bike, and those goons entered the fort, and Salman sat on the bike outside and waited for them. It had been a long time since those smugglers went inside. In such a situation, fear had started to take birth again in Salman's mind. There was no sound, and no one coming out of those smugglers. So much time to steal the crown lying unchecked. This seemed very strange to him because about 5 to 6 people were inside the fort. They were infiltrated, but not a single one of them had come out so far. In such a situation, strange thoughts started coming in Salman's mind. He felt that something must have grown up inside. But was it beyond his comprehension? And after seeing the Yaksha once, he did not dare to go to the dungeon inside the fort to see what had happened there. But now he was compelled to go inside the fort because there was no one else to go inside and see what had happened there and come and tell him. In such a situation, he spoke to himself in his mind. Maybe I'm thinking too much. I am. They may not have been able to find the basement yet. Anyway, if something like that had happened, I would have heard something. I wait for a while and stand still for a while. Maybe one of them will come out on their own. Thinking of this, he stood outside the fort for some time and waited for those people to come. But when none of them returned, it was also necessary for him to go inside and see why they were taking so long to bring the crown. Now that things weren't going according to him, then he decided to go inside and take a look, and he was walking with frightened steps and slowly moving inwards into the fort with the help of the torch of his mobile. At the same time, the speed of sweat dripping from his forehead had also increased. His condition was deteriorating due to fear and panic because even after coming inside the fort, he could not see any movement, nor was there any sound of those people, because of which the fear in his mind was increasing. Stepping slowly, he moved toward the cellar where the crown was kept. Basement. While descending the stairs, his condition had become so bad due to fear that it was becoming difficult to breathe. But still, he walked down the stairs and entered the cellar. As soon as he entered the cellar, his eyes were torn apart by seeing the scene in front of him. His hair trembled with fear and terror, because there were pieces of the corpses of those 5 men lying there in front of him. Their heads were separated from their torsos. Hands and feet were separated from the body and scattered in that cellar. There was blood all around that cellar. This scene was so horrific that a dreadful scream came out of Salman's mouth in panic, and he ran away from there in fear. Running in the half, he quickly got out of that fort and rode his bike out of that fort. He felt that his life would be saved if he got out of that fort, but that didn't happen. As he left the fort, a tornado-like explosive force came out behind him, the speed of which was much more than the speed of his bike. It was as if there was electricity running through the air and looking at him. Seeing this, the thing suddenly came in front of his bike, due to which Salman's bike slipped uncontrollably and caused an accident. As soon as he fell off the bike, Salman got up a little cautiously and tried to look at that thing by looking at his front. After colliding with him, his bike slipped. In fact, it was not in any shape at that time, but slowly a shape was forming. That emerging figure was exactly what Salman had seen for the first time in the fort. The same tall stature, the same wolf-like fangs and worn nails, dark red eyes, and the thick black long hair on the body was exactly the same as he had seen at that time. When he first went to that fort for the purpose of stealing that crown, a half-man and half-beast with large horns on their foreheads stood before him, who had given him life once before. But due to his greed and his antics, he was again trapped in the swamp of the same death. He had thought that if he escaped from the fort, his life would be saved. But that didn't happen. The Yaksha followed him, and now he was helpless, wounded, and helpless in front of the Yaksha was. Salman understood that it was no longer possible for him to escape from that Yaksha. In such a situation, he said with folded hands in front of that Yaksha and begged, "Please forgive me. Please forgive me. I will never go back to that castle again. I will never try to steal that crown again. I won't tell anyone about it. Just let me go. Just leave me one more time. I won't make that mistake again." Hearing his words, the Yaksha started laughing loudly. Yes, 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 being a small person, you have screwed with Satan. Foolish. I gave you a chance to live, but you repeated the same mistake again in the pursuit of your greed and greed. I won't leave you now. I won't leave you. The Yaksha expressed his anger and said in a very loud and furious voice, and all he had to say was that, and he jumped on Yaksha Salman. Salman had no chance to recover. The Yaksha had brutally scratched and torn Salman's body while using his fingernails and sharp teeth. Salman's screams echoed in the entire atmosphere, but there to help him, there wasn't one. On seeing this, the Yaksha chewed more than half of Salman's body and scattered his limbs here and there. And in this way, Salman also got the same horrific death that those 5 smugglers had got. His blood and some pieces of the remaining body were scattered all over. This scene was really horrific to the extent that the soul trembles just by imagining it. Salman's greed had made him suffer such a misery. Imagining this, the minds of the great brave men also rise from fear and panic. Secondly, around 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., Mukul received a call from the police. the police told him that they had found a dead body which they were finding difficult to identify. From the phone found on him and his bike, he has been identified as Salman Khan. On hearing Salman's name, the ground slipped from under Mukul's feet and he ran to the location given by the police with his friend Amit. By then, Salman's body had been sent to the lab for forensic examination. All he could do was his bike, and blood was spilled on the spot. Seeing this, Mukul and Amit's condition worsened. It was. The police had also informed Salman's family members about this. His family members were also present there and were crying loudly. Mukul and Amit went and took care of them. The police had told him that Salman's death might have been an accidental death, but the police had not yet reached any decision, because according to the way Salman died and his dead body was cut into pieces, it seemed that someone had tried to show his death as an accident by killing him. At the same time, the police told him that something from Salman's mobile. There are numbers that are suspicious. They belong to the world of crime. This talk of the police surprised both Mukul and Amit, because what can be Salman's relationship with such people? Why did he talk to those people? Neither of them knew all these things, because Salman's body was so badly damaged that till now he could not even be properly identified. So the police took Mukul and Amit to the hospital to identify Salman's body, where Salman's half-dead body. Seeing the pieces, Mukul and Amit's life came to a halt. Seeing this condition of Salman's dead body, Mukul looked at the inspector and said in very surprised words, "What's all this, officer? Where is Salman's body? These are just pieces of a corpse." Responding to his questions, the inspector said, "We have recovered only this much body from the accident spot, in the same condition." When Mukul heard this from the mouth of the police inspector, he was completely shocked, and in the same tone, he looked at the police inspector with astonished eyes. Looking at him, he said, "But how can this be, sir? I mean, even if someone dies due to an accident, his corpse should at least be complete. More than half of the dead bodies are missing. Only a few parts of the body remain, that too in pieces. While its bike is absolutely fine, this means that it has not been involved in an accident due to being hit by another vehicle. And even if it has happened, the dead body should be completely found. Should it not, sir? While looking at this corpse, it seems that this corpse has not been crushed in the accident. Someone has destroyed it, to its body." Hearing Mukul's words, the police inspector also nodded yes to him and said, "You are right, Mukul. This is not the condition of the body in a road accident. But we feel that after its accident, its body was lying on that deserted road all night. In such a situation, it may be that a wild animal or dogs have eaten its body because the animal's nail marks and teeth marks have been found on its body. Now, only after the post-mortem, it will be known which animal has eaten his body. But Mukul was still not digesting this because that area was deserted. But there was no wild animal in that area that could make Salman's body in such a condition, and because that area was completely deserted. There was no movement of people, there was no residency, there were no people's homes. Having dogs in such a place also seemed like an impossible thing, because dogs often live with people in localities, not in secluded places. In such a situation, Mukul found the police's theory baseless. Suddenly, something came to his mind and he stopped for a moment and thought about something. Looking at him, he said, "I think, sir, we will not be able to identify this body because looking at these pieces, we do not understand whether this body is Salman's or not. So I think we should get out of here now." Hearing this, the police inspector also said yes to him. "You are right, Mukul. Now the identification of this body will be possible only by DNA test. Anyway, we have taken blood samples of his parents for DNA test." Saying this, the police inspector came out of the morgue of the hospital. Mukul and Amit too. He followed her out of the morgue and took leave of her and returned home. Both Mukul and Amit were deeply saddened by Salman's death. But Mukul was sad as well as upset. Seeing him sad like this, Amit put his hand on his shoulder and asked him, "What is the matter, Mukul? You look a little upset. What's going on in your mind? Tell me." Responding to Amit's words, Mukul said, "I don't know, man. I am not feeling right. What did Salman go to do on that road? I don't feel right. Dude, this accident is not just an accident. Amit, there is something we are missing." Saying this, Mukul wondered. And then thinking of something, he immediately reacted sharply and said, "We have to leave immediately, Amit. Saying this, Mukul took out his car keys and ran outside. Seeing him running away like this, Amit also ran after him, and they both got into the car and left. But Amit had no idea where they were going. In such a situation, he looked at Mukul and asked him, "Hey man, Mukul, tell me right, where are we both going?" On hearing his question, Mukul increased the speed of the car and looked at him and said, "On the fort, on the fort?" But why? Mukul's talk completely surprised Amit, but on hearing his question, Mukul clarified all the things because I suspect that Amit Salman definitely went to that fort last night. We prevented him from touching that crown that day, but now I think Salman has definitely tampered with that crown by ignoring our talk. That's when the fate has happened. Have you seen what has happened to his dead body? Amit was also a little surprised to hear Mukul's talk, but even in the midst of that, he spoke, looking for some questions of possibility. You are right, Mukul. It may be, but couldn't it be that you're thinking too much about it? I mean, maybe the police's theory is also correct, and this condition of Salman's dead body was actually done by a wild animal. Salman Khan has passed away. Now we have to think before making such serious allegations against him. It should be taken. Reacting to Amit's words, Mukul said, "No, Amit, this cannot be, because first of all, there is no wild animal here in this place. And secondly, if Salman had not come here in search of that crown, then what was he doing here on this deserted road with this fort? He also went alone so many nights. There is nothing here except that fort. And thirdly, if any wild animal, dog or wolf, eats Salman's dead body, then all the parts of his dead body are the same to the police. Don't meet at the place. He drags the dead body away from the place of the accident and then drags it in the lip of a tree or in the lip of a bush or at least a little inwards from the road so that he maintains his own safety. And then where did Salman's clothes go? Did the wild animal eat them too? His clothes should have been found around there, right? But we have not found any marks of dragging the dead body to the accident spot nor its clothes. It is clear that this is not the work of an animal. I think Amit that I saw Salman. He made a big mistake by showing the crown." Expressing regret over his actions, Mukul said that when Amit heard all these things from Mukul's mouth, he also felt that Mukul's words were absolutely right. In the meantime, when their path was cut off and they both came to that fort, they did not know. As soon as they reached the fort, both of them immediately ran towards that cellar in search of that crown. But as they descended the stairs to the basement, their noses were filled with a horrible smell. The stench was so horrible that it was difficult for both of them to breathe. Both of them had completely covered their nose and mouth with their hands and their hanky to get some relief from that deadly stench. In the midst of that horrible stench, Amit addressed Mukul and said, "Man, Mukul, man, I do not understand where such a dirty smell is coming from. It looks like a lot of animals have died here. But when we came here the day before yesterday, there was nothing like that here. Everything seemed perfectly fine." "So where did the sudden smell come from?" Mukul replied as soon as he heard him. "I don't know, but Amit, something must have happened here." Saying this, he took out his mobile and turned on its torch. By then, they had both descended the stairs to the basement. In such a situation, as soon as Mukul flashed the torch of his mobile towards that crown, seeing the terrible scene of the basement in front of them, the condition of both of them worsened. There were mutilated human limbs scattered all around in that basement, and blood was visible on the floor. The sight was so gruesome, so horrific, and so terrifying that both Mukul and Amit went numb to their hands and feet. His breath was in his heart, stuck up, his eyes were torn apart, and the follicles of his body trembled with terror. Both of their hearts and minds were completely numb. They did not understand what to do if they both did in such a situation. They wanted to run away from there, but both of their feet were frozen there in this way. They weren't getting up. His whole body was dripping with sweat. The heartbeat had increased, and it seemed as if all the blood in his body had dried up. The fear and panic were so much that both of them could not get words out of their mouths. But still, gathering courage even in that pitiable condition, somehow both of them managed each other and came out of that basement with great difficulty. There was so much stench in that basement that it was difficult for a normal person to stand there even for a moment. After getting out of that deadly, horrible stench and that horrible scene, They reported this mass murder to the police. In a short time, the police inspector arrived there with his team. When the policemen and the team of doctors saw that horrific scene, the souls of all of them trembled because from today onwards, they had never seen such a massacre before, where the entire dead body was missing. They were just left behind. So some pieces of that dead body, Mukul, had also given this information to his father, and he also came there with the trustees of the temple. When they saw the horrific scene, they too could not believe their eyes. But they understood who had committed the murder and why it had taken place, because pistols and revolvers were also found near those mutilated human parts. In such a situation, it was clear that they had come there only for the purpose of stealing that crown, and that one of the countless powers hidden in that crown destroyed them. Their mobile phones were also shattered on the spot. 4 of the mobile phones were dead, but one was still operational, in which the police got Salman's number, from which it became clear that Salman was in collusion with those people, and he must have told them about that crown. The police had named the case a mass murder, but the trustees of the temple, Mukul and Amit and Rajmata, all knew in their hearts who had done this work. After this, they did not think it right to keep that crown there, because the greed to get this crown could have cost more lives, just like Salman's did. Therefore, he kept that crown in a royal museum with full respect and elegance, where even now that crown is kept with the same glory and beauty. People can see it, but no one can touch it. And in a museum in Rajasthan, you may have also seen that crown well, but you will not know the truth behind it. And see, I will not be able to tell you its location in more detail. And in the whole story, I have tried not to know the location, because once that thing is revealed, then many people start running after that thing. People do not believe these stories at all and lose their lives in the process of stealing those things. So as soon as this whole story came to us, the people who shared it with us and who were their descendants said that you may not be able to do so. Tell people the whole story, but don't tell them which museum it is kept in and where it is kept. And people often look at it and they feel normal, that it must have been the crown of a normal king, and see that it is also right. Many times we keep finding such antique things in the archaeology department, whose truth is not known to anyone. And not once, but many times I have also shared it with you in many incidents, that many times some graves and coffins come out, and many invisible powers are imprisoned in it, which have been imprisoned there for many years. If they break that Tantra mantra, they become free from it. Then you have to suffer a great loss. So friends, this was our story today. Do tell us how you liked the story by commenting. And those who have not yet subscribed to the channel must subscribe to the channel. Take care of yourself and your family. I, your friend, will meet you soon with a new story. Thank you.